You are going to die. Not eventually. Vague, someday, abstract. Don't think about it, die. An actual date exists for you right now. Sitting on a calendar, nobody's ever going to show you. And you got a little closer to it just by being here for the last few seconds. Here's the part that should actually bother you though. You're the only animal on this entire planet that has to know that. A deer isn't spiraling about mortality while it eats grass in a field. Your dog is not having a 3 a.m. crisis about non-existence. Every other living thing on Earth is just currently alive. No commentary track running underneath it. You're the one exception, and somehow you still get up, make coffee, and go to work like it's fine. So the real question was never, why are humans afraid of death? Anything capable of feeling fear flinches when a truck is coming at it. That part isn't interesting. The actual question is why you're afraid of it right now. Not in danger, not being chased, just sitting there, existing, and still somehow bracing. And here's a strange detail about that fear. You weren't born with it. Somewhere around age 5 or 6, with no ceremony and nobody sitting you down for it, your brain finished piecing together the last part of the picture. Before that, a dead bug on a windowsill probably got filed under sleeping wrong or gone somewhere. Then, on some completely unremarkable Tuesday, you have absolutely no memory of, it clicked. This is permanent. This happens to everyone. And this is the part that actually lands. This happens to me too. Nobody warns you that's coming. You just wake up one day already living on the other side of it, and there's no version of you that ever gets to go back. Here's where that actually comes from, and it's a stranger trait than it sounds. Close your eyes for a second. Actually, don't. You'll miss the point. Just picture next Tuesday, or the last birthday you remember really clearly, or a version of Thursday that hasn't happened yet and might not even go the way you're picturing it. You can just do that instantly, for free, with zero training. Scientists call it mental time travel and treat it like a big deal, because it is one. Most animals live inside roughly the current 5 seconds. A gazelle that outruns a lion is terrified for exactly as long as the lion is chasing it. Then it's back to eating grass 90 seconds later, completely unbothered. No journaling about it that night. You don't get to just shake it off like that. The same trick that lets you plan a wedding, save for retirement, or feel genuinely embarrassed about a text you sent in 2020 also runs forward, automatically, to the one appointment you can't reschedule. You didn't choose to know this. It arrived with the exact same trait that made you smart enough to ask the question in the first place. So if literally every human being alive is quietly carrying that around all the time, how does anyone function? How do you laugh at a meme, plan a vacation, care about a group chat, without collapsing under the weight of that? Turns out you don't face it directly. You build furniture around it and live in the house instead. You have kids, you build a legacy, you start a podcast. Psychologists who study this call it terror management, and the theory is basically that a huge chunk of human culture exists as an extremely elaborate way of not thinking about the thing directly. It's not subtle when you actually test it either. Researchers have run studies where they get people thinking about their own death for a few minutes, then watch what happens right after. And those people get measurably more defensive of their own group, harsher toward outsiders, more clingy toward whatever belief system makes them feel like part of something that outlasts them. You've probably seen a tiny version of this yourself. Someone getting weirdly, disproportionately furious defending their favorite phone brand, like it's a matter of personal honor, which is completely unhinged and also, apparently, extremely human. That heat is rarely actually about the phone. The effect isn't identical in every single study, and psychologists still argue about how deep it runs, but the pattern keeps showing back up. You're not just privately scared of dying. That fear is quietly steering decisions you'd never clock as being about death at all. But none of that explains why the fear feels the way it feels. Losing your keys is annoying. Missing a flight is stressful. Death doesn't feel like inconvenience-shaped fear. It feels closer to vertigo, and there's a specific reason for that. You are not actually afraid of the biological event. You will never once be present for your own death the way you were present for that bad flight, complaining about it afterward. The version of you capable of being afraid disappears at the exact same moment as the thing it's supposedly afraid of. An old philosopher named Epicurus pointed this out over 2,000 years ago. Where death is, you are not, and where you are, death is not, which is either the most quietly comforting sentence ever written or completely useless, depending on the day. So if you're never actually there for it, why does the idea still make your chest tighten? Because the fear was never really about pain or non-existence as some abstract concept. It's about the story stopping. You've been the main character of an uninterrupted, first-person narrative since the day you were born, watching everything happen from directly behind your own eyes, and your imagination has never once had to picture that narrator not being there, because it's never happened before, not once. Your brain has never experienced what it would mean for you to simply not be there. Try to picture true nothingness, not darkness, not sleep, because both of those still have a you inside them, noticing the dark, noticing the sleep. You cannot do it. Your imagination hits the one wall it has never had to climb, and your brain reads that blank spot as danger, the same way it reads any question it can't answer. That inability to picture it isn't proof something's wrong with you. It's proof you've simply never needed that particular room in your head before now, which raises an uncomfortable follow-up. If a species could somehow lose this, stop knowing, go back to living inside the 5-second window, like everything else on the planet, would that actually be better? Because the same awareness that hands you the fear is the exact same awareness that hands you everything else. You only sprint to catch a sunset because you know you get a finite finite number of them. You only actually say the thing to someone out loud today, because today isn't guaranteed to repeat itself. Take away the deadline and you don't get a calmer, braver version of yourself. You get a creature with infinite do-overs and zero urgency, which sounds peaceful for about 10 seconds, right up until you realize nothing would ever actually matter, because nothing would ever actually run out. The fear and the meaning were never two separate things you're stuck juggling. They're the same instinct, just pointed in two different directions. You don't get to keep one and cancel the other. Nobody does. So yes, you are going to die, and you are still the only animal on this planet that ever had to know that walking in. The deer doesn't know. Your dog doesn't know. But neither of them gets to decide what today is actually for either. They don't get the specific, ridiculous gratitude of a genuinely good sandwich, or stay up too late because the conversation was too good to leave, or choose, on purpose, exactly who they spend their sunsets with. You got handed the one piece of knowledge every other species on Earth was quietly spared, and you paid for it with the only thing that could ever make a life feel like it was actually, specifically yours. That's not the cruel part of the deal. That's the entire deal. Try not to waste the knowing.